Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. This is the Cottonwood Heights City Council work session. And my name is Mike Wickers and I'm the mayor of our city. Item number 2 on our agenda today is a review of our business meeting for tonight. And so we will start, like always, with a pledge of allegiance. For Highland, have you done that recently? Okay, would you lead us in that?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. We'll have a citizen comment period after the pledge, and then we have our public hearing scheduled for item 4.1, which is our tentative budget for 25-26 fiscal year that we'll be adopting in our next meeting. This is actually a staff report, Scott, so we'll come back and talk about it a little bit more, all of the changes and how everything is finalizing in just a few minutes. So item 5, we have 3 different action items. Councilmember Highland, or rather Councilmember Newell and Councilmember Burrell will remember how we did this a couple years ago. However, so what I'm gonna do, this is not a staff report, so Mike, I'm gonna have you actually kind of discuss the rezone.
Yep.
I know that we've talked with multiple people, and then I want you to discuss a development agreement option and continue to all of that. So I'll turn some time over to you.
Sure. If you want, we did the full kind of presentation last time. So that's the rezone and the general plan amendment are on for action, potential
Let's
action.
ask the council if they want an update on the rezone.
You want to run through of that one more time?
I would like a refresher on the general plan amendment specifically.
Sure. Okay.
Address this.
I don't want formatting to go weird, so I'm going to stay in this view here, if that's okay. This is 3526 Fort Union Boulevard, just shy of 1 acre up on Fort Union, right where the water line construction is going on right now. The request is twofold. It's a land use map amendment, which is the general plan side of the request. Anytime a request is made for a rezone, we first look at the underlying land use designation from the general plan land use map. As much as possible, we try to make sure the land use designation is compatible with the zoning designation on the property. So if a request changes both and makes those two incompatible, we require that a land use map amendment and a zone map amendment be applied for. So this is technically 2 separate applications, which is why it's 2 different action items, but being considered at the same time. The land use map amendment is from residential office, which is the existing underlying land use designation. That does not dictate what you can do on the property today. That's just the general plan for this area, identifies this property and some others here as having a potential future land use designation that it is conducive to a residential office type use. But the applicant's rezone request is to amend the zoning from R18 single family residential, which it is today, it has been for a long time, to R28, which is a 2-family residential zoning. To match that with a land use designation, residential medium density is the most appropriate designation. So both requests ensure that the zone map amendment and the land use map amendment are in sync with each other.
Would it be typical to have a residential single family zone be part of residential office?
It is. We have areas of the city where, especially along our major commercial corridors, where, decades ago when the areas were built out, they were built a certain way. You see a lot of, not a lot anymore, but you see some random, residential uses along Fort Union, even down in the very busy area of Fort Union, where looking out long range, our land use policies and plans don't project single family residential as the most effective use of those areas. So you have areas like that where you have an old zoning designation that's been that way for a long time, nothing's ever changed, but the future maybe doesn't support that quite as much. So you do see certain areas, especially along these busy corridors, where the land use plan is trying to envision a slight change moving into the future. Usually that's at, when a property is ready to redevelop or someone's coming in to try to change it. That's where you see those applications happen.
This is, I think, a really important time, great question, and especially as we come into a period that I understand is coming right up, that we're going to really take a good look at our general plan for the city. So what I've come to learn now over the years is, and tell me if I have misunderstood this, but one of the things that was attractive to me about form-based code, and we have form-based code overlays now, is that we can give a given developer perhaps more leeway on how something is used if they are willing and able to meet certain other criteria in the way of design or setbacks from the road, et cetera.
Sure.
So will we be coming, maybe not in this particular project that we're working on today, but am I correct in my thinking that we could, as a council, consider a land use that is termed something that indicates a mixed-use development
Mhm.
type, you know, which obviously gives both some office and or business, commercial with residential versus having our focus on, you know, S1 versus S2 as our.
Yeah. So the land use designation is generally more broad than zoning. So you could have a mixed use land use designation. And that's just, hey, we want to see a mix of uses that's appropriate for any given area. And then you would have to see that through and amend your zoning ordinance to make sure that whatever mixed use ordinance you have delivered that result that you envisioned. So, you know, our mixed use ordinance right now is okay. It doesn't apply perfectly everywhere, which is why we pursued form-based code, because that can be done in a more context sensitive way. So yes, in concept, you could establish a mixed use vision in the general plan and then, you know, start drafting and working on an ordinance to carry out that vision. It's kind of a multi-step process though. You go from land use vision, just high level, very general, to ordinance, which governs the actual development.
Well, because I can say that what my constituents are telling me in District 4 here on this project is why so many of them are vehemently opposed to this going to a higher density, is they have seen, for instance, I believe it's Chadbourne. Sorry, people, we're not Chadbourne, but, you know, where it's all twin homes.
Mhm.
And the quality of the, you know, feeling on that street, the curbside appeal, you know, it's problematic. There's too many cars parked everywhere. There's, you know, kind of some ill-kept stuff going on. So, but my thought on that is that in our time, these twin homes are not selling for anything that most people can afford. I mean, and the twin homes will go on the market for whatever they go on, you know, $600,000 or $700,000 each. So I think we have a challenge of a paradigm shift, if you will, or making sure that we are doing all we can to preserve the character and quality in the neighborhoods without necessarily, what I'm trying to consider is being so locked into, you know, S1 as the only way to have a certain,
Yeah,
you know,
and
quality feeling.
maybe what you're getting at is a huge project down the road of once we have a general plan in place, we probably ought to take a big look at our zoning ordinance as well, because it's kind of patched together. You know, some chapters are new and great and they work well, and a lot of them it's old language from Salt Lake County, and you run into little quirks here and there. It doesn't perfectly apply everywhere. So that's a huge undertaking, obviously, to go audit the whole zoning ordinance, but that
So
would
the
be.
general plan will strictly address the land use and not the zone.
General land's very high level. Here's the direction we generally want to move as a city, and then it's going to recommend, you know, ways to move there. And those would be the projects that you would pursue after the general plan's in place. Yeah,
Thank you.
so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
So is this an appropriate time to continue that discussion? I have a general problem encouraging any new residential along our arterials. And why we wouldn't pursue more mixed use and residential office is a question that I have. You've got the gear room on one side, you've got Alpha Coffee and all those others, and we're talking about bringing people down Fort Union towards the town center.
I think
Do you
in
want don't we want mixed use, like neighborhood commercial
So,
stuff?
so in 2019, it's kind of hard to see here, there's some blue highlights. Most of the all the properties in blue had a mixed use land use designation.
Okay,
That was the original general plan, 05 to 2019. And in 2019, the council at the time said, hey, you know, the character of Fort Union changes a bit as you get east of 27th, roughly. Let's go in and revise our future land use vision only for that section of Fort Union. Because it should be, you know, their thought was it should be a little different than the rest of Fort Union. So we went in and any property here that is part of it,
It's the pointer, because now.
it's kind of hard
I'm a
to,
little
yeah,
confused
we'll
on
zoom
what-
in. So we kind of came,
So let's just get, so this is 3,000 east, just so everybody, here's 3,000 east.
yeah, yep. So all the properties in blue were mixed use before, and we went in and basically revised those at the direction of the council. Anything that led into a neighborhood, like you can see these kind of properties here, they front on Fort Union, but they have access into the neighborhood. They were changed to just single family residential because there was concern about, you know, zone creep and commercial impact going into a residential area. The properties that do not have any direct access or interaction with the neighborhoods, for the most part, were changed to residential office, which is a less intense zone or land use designation that does allow for residential use, but also allows for some kind of low impact office.
like a dental office.
Dental
like,
office. The Highland Drive frontage road north of Fort Union is a good example of what our residential office zone allows.
Oh, sure, okay.
And then some others were just, the zoning was changed to match the product that's there now. So you have a bunch of these kind of condominium HOA projects there. Their land use designation was changed to like a medium density to support the, you know, they're the twin homes there. So the land use matches the zoning. So we went all the way, this was, you know, directed by the council, up Fort Union, the eastern kind of third of Fort Union. And did that all along this stretch. The subject property that's now applying for a rezone is this purple one here. So it was changed from mixed use to residential office. And then, as we talked about last time, this same applicant actually a couple of years ago came in to try to rezone it to residential office to match the general plan. And that was denied. And then he came back right after that and tried to do the same thing he's requesting now, which was change the land use to medium density and change the zoning to R2A. That was also denied.
Why was residential office denied? What was the reasoning at the time?
You know, I don't want to speak for
When was that? That was-
2022. They were back to back. There was one got denied and then he started the next right after it.
What would have residential office, what did he want to do? I don't have any recollection of that.
I think he largely wanted to do a residential product there. There's twin homes and PUDs and things like
So
that.
residential office, he
Residential.
was still trying to do the same thing, basically.
So there was,
Yeah, the
council
parking.
denied that.
Well, he had the parking in a different place. Now he's got it behind.
So yeah,
Denied it due to density
Yeah.
and the
that's-
neighborhood. Saying, hey,
And
we
the
don't want
setback,
this.
setback wasn't.
Yeah,
Good enough
setback
either.
wasn't good enough either. So it come, one thing I
Help
wanna
me with that.
just add to real quick.
Sure.
So I like where Councilmember Highland is going with this. One of our issues is we're probably a little late on this because tomorrow he could bypass us and go build 3 homes. Right?
he has a subdivision
Because
plat. Yeah, so
It's
this,
R18. It's currently R18. He wouldn't have to go through any zoning changes. He would just subdivide and build 3 homes.
so when those requests were denied in 2022, he moved forward with a single family, an R18 subdivision plat, 3 lots. Got all the way to, I mean, it's approved and basically ready to record. He just hasn't recorded it yet. He actually went in and installed and built new curb gutter and sidewalk along the frontage of that, did some of those public improvements. So yes, you're correct, Mayor. He could go record this plat and come get building permits for single family homes, you know, as soon as that's recorded.
And those would all have driveways out onto Fort Union.
Under this configuration, yeah,
Yes.
as long as they met code, yeah,
Will the developer be here today?
I believe
Ask the
so.
Question.
So,
Something that came up at the last meeting, sorry, Mayor.
no, go ahead.
Okay, this came up briefly at the last meeting and even at the planning commission is the applicant has provided a concept plan. as staff, we're always a little hesitant to show the concept plan at the rezone level, because if you just approve a rezone, they're governed by whatever that zoning dictates. It doesn't necessarily have to be this if the zoning supports something else. A way around that would be to establish some controls via, a project-specific development agreement. So the rezone is contingent upon, or the development of this product is contingent upon those standards. That was brought up, and that was based on the applicant sharing with the planning commission his intention to, there's a private driveway to the east of this property that's been existing. There's some townhomes down that driveway to the southeast that have been existing since the late 70s, I believe. His plan is to purchase that and allow continued access to those townhomes via easement, upgrade that driveway, and then construct a shared rear access drive behind the lots. And he wants to develop 3 twin homes. So the lot configuration is really similar to what the R18 subdivision plat is, but the difference being his concept, they would access via private shared access that's existing and then a rear entry. So cars and garages would be in the back of the lots. They'd still front on Fort Union, but access would be in the back via one shared driveway.
So a private driveway then makes them eligible to be short-term rentals.
No, that's not a road. They'd still be addressed Fort Union Boulevard.
Oh,
Unless he builds this to private road standards, which is like a 50-foot
Yeah, you
right
can-
away. I don't think it's possible. So this it would be a private driveway, but not eligible for short-term rental.
okay.
So let me add to what Mike is saying as well with this option that he's done. So obviously Cynthia Blair came in last meeting and she led the charge the first time to say, hey, this is not what we want. She obviously sent us an email and then talked in the meeting saying, hey, look, he's willing to do a further setback on one side. He's, the driveway, having one driveway is really different. And if we can hold them to that, then they've changed their mind. I mean, a big portion of them have changed their mind and are willing to not stand in the way of something like this.
I think one of the concerns that was brought up was this western lot. The minimum setback for R28 is 5 feet. So there's a scenario where they could build a 35-foot structure 5 feet away from the property line. That property directly to the west, which is Miss Blair's property, has a really narrow backyard. I think it's non-conforming, grandfathered in kind of situation. So I think there was some concern over that impact. R18, what he has today, allows an 8-foot setback and the same thing. So, it is more of an impact, but it's not, not
But he's
substantially
willing to go
different.
25 feet, right?
But this concept plan, yes, shows about a 25-foot setback that, I just kind of threw out to the applicant, hey, would you be willing to sign a development agreement to kind of hold you to these terms, the shared driveway, the increased western setback, and he said he'd be willing to entertain that. So if that's the direction the council wants to go, we would recommend holding public comment tonight as you would, but during deliberation, we don't have a draft of that prepared yet. We would just need some direction on that. So it'd be continuing action on this to give us time to prepare that agreement and then bring the whole thing back to
Development
you.
agreement.
Yeah,
We'll re-entertain the idea or something.
Yeah.
sure.
Exactly.
Can we engage in an exchange with the developer and ask him if he wanted residential office to start with? And he was denied, is that something he would reconsider?
Both zones were, the intent was the same. So he was gonna build twin homes, whether it was residential office or R28. But if we were willing to say, hey, if we went residential office, are you willing to do something different? We could engage him that way.
What is it that are your concerns about advancing as we are the direction that we're in with all contingent on a development agreement? I'm just trying to understand what the advantage
If
would
we
be.
go with this, I would 100% want a development agreement. My question generally is, why in the world do we want any more residential? And this is, it's still to me, low density along an arterial, when we're looking at so many changes that are come to our city in the next 10+ years. I think it makes more sense to have commercial along our arterials, especially when you have commercial on each side. I know you have residential on each side as well. But in a long-term planning visionary state, I don't think we should encourage residential along our arterials. So I would
Well,
rather,
but the problem is that it's only on our arterials that we have transit. Only Fort Union Boulevard and Highland Drive, two of our main arterials, have transit. And that's important to working people. So I would,
or
I,
people who want to buy these and, you know, just take the ski bus up.
Well,
For
where-
their vacation property. So when you say working.
well, the
people,
ski
can they
bus
even
doesn't
afford
even
it?
go down this part of Fort Union Boulevard.
But you
So-
want it to. Your vision is to get people to go, to not come to the mouth of the canyon, to get up the canyon, but to start from somewhere else. So that's your big vision too.
Well, of course, I want people to be able to take transit for all different purposes. But when it, in your opinion,
So
when
residential
it- when
office
it
to
ma-
me is a commercial below and residence above. which
Well, mixed
does
use, when it mixed use, is mixed use what you're interested in, where it can be commercial below with residential above?
Yes,
Cause I think that's my interest as well. Obviously, our preceding administration came up with this as their preferred scenario,
which
but
probably matched the situation. The pandemic is changing so dramatically where we have work from home. We have so many opportunities to allow people not to have to commute, to work where they live. Right, those are the questions in the back of my mind.
One of the big issues I have with residential commercial is the vacancy rates. We're seeing them across the valley. They have these great brand new units, but they're not able to rent the commercial side or the business side of those buildings. And those vacancies are there. We see it all up and down the Wasatch Front. That is a concern of mine, having that there in this space, because just because you have residential top doesn't guarantee you're gonna have commercial on the bottom. Somebody has a viable business.
is there a way that you know of, Mike, that there could be a land use where the developer can decide, that is, you know, to Councilman Newell's point, as the years go by, as developers realize there's different ways to do, what's trending, what do we think is wanted in this area? That it could be a choice between a little higher density on, for instance, the Fort Union arterial, and or it could be built, you know, if the developer was sure they were gonna make it whatever, you know, with the commercial below and
Yeah.
it is,
You would have to have a zoning ordinance that allows for that flexibility. Form-based code attempts to do some of that. It's not a cure-all. And I do want to clarify, form-based code, even as we drafted, did not come up this far. It was, you know,
Further
stopped at
west,
23rd,
yeah.
yeah. You know, that says buildings should be in this location, uses come and go, you mix them, but you know, that establishes a kind of an expectation. And allows for that flexibility over time. Residential office, if he were just to rezone to residential office today, he could do, you know, something very similar to what's shown here. He could do a full, you know, 10,000 square foot office building. He could do, you know, he could do a mixed use project, but it's not guaranteed. So the residential office zone on its own has a lot of flexibility built in based on what the current applicant would want to do. But it doesn't necessarily guarantee a mixed use product there.
Like we were considering at the Bengal intersection, which was office on the bottom floor and home above. And the resident would actually inhabit the office. So we're not talking about renting the different.
Exactly. No, that's
Sure.
what I mean. Resident would be the one that owns a business, so those are the ones that
That are not.
have some issues. Yeah.
Okay. What would you recommend?
You know, and speaking to the residents and hearing from them, they're okay with this planning. I just would like to have a project specific plan and a guarantee from the developer that we get something that solidifies this idea here and then present that to us.
So I think this presents the urgency that we work on the general plan.
Yeah.
Because I think if we, you know, if we'd done this earlier, maybe that would have changed things, but I think where we sit today. That it's not probably fair to this occupant that we really say, is this okay? This is what you're asking for. But I agree that the urgency, you know, the council in 2019 said, we're gonna take that away and leave these as residential, and so they made that determination. It's our choice now to change it if we want to. But I think today's point for me is we need to determine if we go into the development agreement, we could put in the development agreement, and he's willing to do an HOA, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, he said that for common area maintenance.
An HOA is
Can that
also
also be
able
in the
to,
development agreement?
I defer to Shane, but we probably want to be, just have some sort of plan for common area maintenance. I don't know that we want to dictate you have to have an HOA, but we can have a
the
plan.
thing I like about an
Common
HOA
area.
is he can determine, they can put into it, hey, only one of these 6 units could ever be non-owner occupied. So he could, an HOA has the ability legally to say, 5 of these units have to be owner occupied.
Sure, yeah, I just want to be careful to not get involved in HOA management too much. But if you want to plan for common area maintenance and upkeep and, things like that, I think that's great.
And to your, I'm also have heard you say previously, someone still could apply for a conditional use permit and have some kind of some kind of a business from their home.
Home business is allowed in any residential zone, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I just think this is missed opportunity, like you said, and the
I-
timing isn't great.
I will say, I'm remembering the RO rezone in 2022 was an RO with zoning conditions to actually take out a lot of the commercial uses. I think there was a lot of public pushback against commercial here just because of traffic and parking, and whatever else. Not saying that's valid or invalid, but I do think that was part of that original application.
So let's talk about what the options then would be, as we go through and the action items legislatively. So if there's 3 of us that would like to, request that a development agreement get started to adhere to some of the changes that he's been willing to talk about. Then continuing item 5.1 and 5.2, that have to be 2 motions or 1, Shane,
I would say handle them separately.
separately, okay? So we would continue 5.1, we'd vote on continuing it, and then continue 5.2. Let staff work on a development agreement with the applicant, and then we would bring it back when it's completed, probably the next meeting. Does that sound, did I say anything that just was wrong?
I think that would be our process.
Okay.
Drop that.
Still
Is
open
the-
up to public comment.
Yeah.
It'll do public comment.
The agreement for at least among us, I believe, is that we do want that 25-foot setback for the resident next to it, and we want the driveway to the rear.
The
so-
one single entrance on
They're
40.
consolidated.
So we don't end up with 3 entrances, okay.
Or, yeah,
I think those are the 2 key
And-
points for me.
And some plan for common space
So
maintenance.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you, that's the 3rd point.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
great, okay. Thank you. The last item, real quick, is item 5.3, and I think that's a staff report, right? Yeah, it is. Okay, so we'll have Ben talk about that later as a staff report, but it's consideration of resolution 2025-39, approving a cost reimbursement agreement with Metropolitan Water District of Salt Lake and Sandy. So we'll get to that as a staff report. And then we'll approve our minutes from our city council work session and business meeting on May 20th. I want to speed along we have a guest who's been very patient. They were first on the agenda and that took longer than we'd hoped. So, we are grateful. We'll move on to our staff reports, like I said, and we're gonna move to item A under reports. We have one of our valued partners, the South Valley Chamber here, our president and CEO of that chamber, Jay Francis, is here with multiple members of his staff, which it seems like you always go where he goes. I don't know why, how that works. But we're gonna invite Jay up to the table. He's got a presentation. We're excited to hear about progress and.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, you can do whatever you want.
Thank you. And yes, let me introduce members of, we have some that are missing, but they follow me around because I sometimes overcommit and underpromise. Sell things too cheap, but Jamie's our managing director. Dana is our events manager and our membership services. Corey is our development director. And Braden is our marketing director, and our finance. Our CFO is not here, and our development is not with us today, as well as our tourism, which you'll see something about that in a minute. So I'm here because contractually we say we'll come every year and give you a report on the. And here we are 6 months into 2025. That tells you how 2025 has been for us already. And we're gonna be talking about 2024. I'll probably interject some 2025 stuff, but our mission is we connect, educate, advocate, and grow. As we plan our events, we try to connect these bullets and make sure the things that we do, that when somebody comes to an event, whether it's a lunch, one of our boot camps, an education, a connect after hours, that they go away saying, you know, I'm better, I met someone, I learned something, and it was worth my time. And hopefully we connect at least 3 of these 4 dots, if not all of them. Oops, I probably hit it twice. So our Women in Business is something that I love to start with. Our committee there, Jamie heads that up from our staff. But she has a great committee, and they planned some amazing things in 2024. You can see that we had 10 Women in Business lunches. You can see a few of the leaders that we had come, either panels or speakers or presenters. And then kind of the hallmark of our Women in Business is our Junior WIB, which, Mayor, I know you came to our graduation in April, where we graduated this year 25, but last year 21 high school seniors, and we gave each of them $1,000 scholarship to the college or university of their choice. And they got a great experience of rubbing shoulders with the Women in Business, as well as a service project, and having to be able to work with these women. It's something, and then this year, interjecting 2025, we just graduated 25. So we, and I said, let's go for more, and the committee shut me down. So our Business Institute is something that I'm pleased with, and those are our 4 pillars of Business Institute: our Altivate Business Accelerator, our Everyday Entrepreneur, our South Valley Leadership, as well as our South Valley boot camps that we do. So quickly on each of those, last year in 2024, we had a total of 26 enrolled with 2 different cohorts. And today we graduated this year's cohort, and it's just heartwarming to sit and listen to their presentations at the end of a 10-week class of how they've grown and how they've done it. And they've used Ralph, who's the instructor, and as a personal consultant, and how they've made changes, and they've grown. And it's just been, and I talked to Terry Grant today from KeyBank at a breakfast meeting, and he with Altabank. He was with KeyBank when we started, and he is just when he had the opportunity, when KeyBank from Denver said, "Yeah, we've done this for 4 years," and Terry heard about it, he said, "I'll do it," because he knows what we're doing for small business. Our Leadership South Valley is an amazing program. Something I wish that I had been able to be part of in my mid-career, where they get to. We have a topic every month. It's a 10-month, once a month for 10 months. And topics like healthcare and tourism and government, housing and transportation, sports, entertainment, and economic development. Those are just a few. But every month, it's hands-on. And now we've got enough sponsorship dollars that we're able to put them in a couple of vans and be able to go different places. We went out to the airport, and they heard from the airport authority, and then they got to go out on the tarmac, and they got to go back in the sheds where the plows and the fire engines are. We got to go to the prison, and I mean, in the prison, as we were passing inmates, and we got to eat we got to eat lunch there, the culinary program fixed. And they really do, I thought it was a rumor, but they really do make license plates there, and we got to watch them do that. And I'm impressed. I mean, I'm going to get off topic.
Can you tell them to speed up the black ones? Because I'm waiting for mine.
I think they said your check didn't clear. I'll make a call. Our boot camps are specialized for small business. They're like workshops, and usually around topics that small businesses need some help and some additional resources for. Things that I took for granted for 36 years when working for a large company, but they need to know how to do their social media and how to prepare taxes, and they even some of them need to know that, yeah, you got to go get a business license. What's a marketing plan? What are financials? And this in a couple of weeks, we'll be holding a boot camp on AI. And by the time they leave, they'll have their own AI plan and how to use that for customer retention, for sales, and for being able to reach out in their marketing plan. Our everyday entrepreneur is something we partner with the mill at Salt Lake Community College. This is where those who want to start a business, they can come for 10 weeks and learn how to build a marketing plan, how to build a budget, how to build a sales plan. Do I need additional people? And if it's a widget or a product, you know, what's it going to cost? How are you going to manufacture it? How are you going to use it? And it's fun to see them launch. And the other success is maybe by about week 5 or 6, some of them say, I don't think I'm ready. And for $500 or $600, they find out that there's a time to back down. But we've saved them thousands of dollars. I wish somebody had done that with me a lot of years ago. But you know, because sometimes they get excited and they think, and their best friend says, yeah, you should do it. And they start, you know, spending money and they're not ready. So this course really helps them get ready, or it helps them maybe back off and get ready in a different way. Our Let's Do Lunches, we alternate those with our Meet the Member, or Meet the Members. And we did 4 last year, and we had Jim Olson and Lieutenant Governor come. We had the Bees do a presentation to us before they were in their new place. And Scott Anderson from Zions Bank we had a record crowd when he spoke to us. But again, every one of them were around things that people went home and said, I'm better because I came to that lunch. I mentioned that it alternates with our Meet the Member, which is it's a lunch, but the presentations are really the members, and we have 12 to 15 be able to stand up and tell who they are and what they do, and they love that. And we're already we have those for the next few months, but the member signups to be able to pitch their business is already full up through October, I believe, isn't it, Corey? And so it's a great program for members to connect and learn from each other about their business, and they get to do a little brag. Our Chamber 101 is something that Dana does for us, something we started almost 2 years ago now, where we bring members in. We want them to learn the best way to use their membership and how to connect through our membership platform, and how to connect with each other, how they can promote themselves on our membership platform. And then, you know, talk to them about engaging, and that not to just stick their membership under their mattress, but to actually use it and get engaged. Our Connect After Hours has been very, very successful. I was very leery because I've seen some business after hour things go wrong, but our committee who runs this has just been stellar. And we did 5 last year, and we've been doing them every other month, but by demand after August this year, we're going to start going every month. And because they just want a place to connect after they've been working all month long. It's the last Wednesday, the 4th Wednesday of every month. And they just want to pat each other on the back and say hello and maybe do a drawing. But it's and they said, Jay, you're invited to come, but we don't want you to speak. You can, you can tell us what's, but we don't want any lectures. We just want to relax, and it's been fun. We have held executive forums and In the Nose. These are events that, as we see things prop up, that we plan them usually a lot every year after the legislative session. Also, this last year we held one about how to connect with your government, how to connect with local government, how to connect with state government, and how to connect with your federal delegation. And we had a great panel. And you can see the one picture on the right there where there were some things propping up on the point that was kind of getting a little heated in the community. And so we hosted it In the Know so that the people from the point could explain what was going on. Committees, we have an ambassador committee. We mentioned our Women in Business committee. We have our ambassadors, and they are our mouthpiece and our lifeblood. They support us. They're ribbon cuttings. They come to our lunches. They help check people in. They're like part-time employees that we don't have to pay for, and they're just great people. And they really, as they're out in the community, they really do network for us. Our Government Affairs and Public Policy Committee, in 2024, we tracked over 20 bills, a lot of them around housing, transportation, and economic development. and obviously some business things. We have a number of our cities who come and meet with us when we start meeting in October, November, and then every Thursday during the session. We took 17 people on a Washington DC trip last year. This year's trip is in October. It's getting a little bit, it's just not the best time, but we've got 11 people who want to go. And we'll be back to May in 2026. Our small business committee helps us stay focused on some programs or some initiatives, or they are also kind of in charge of our boot camp and giving us topics of what we should be focusing on. They also are the ones who said, hey, this was a couple of years ago, we need to do a Small Business of the Year award, and would you consider putting it on the same stage as your Titans? And we did that 2 years ago. And this last year, Brian Epperson, Target River was our Business of the Year, and we honored them at our Titans. We have a little fun, we make a little money, and we take care of the customer. That's kind of what our golf tournaments do all in one. And we held 3 of those at River Oaks, Old Mill, and Glenmore. And I get my colleagues from other chambers said, they say 3. And in order to accommodate all the our members and what's included in their membership, we have to hold 3. In 2 weeks, we'll start our first one here at Old Mill. So, and we're doing kind of a little special tournament this year as well to kind of do some things with executives. Our Shark Tank is we work with DECA and FBLA and have the top students come and present their business plan, their product, and we just did this 3 weeks ago for 2025. But last year we gave the $11,000. I really think it was 9, but it might be 11 because Brandon Fugel kind of opened his wallet and started giving kids more money. So I think we counted that. He was one of the judges. And I was with him this morning and he commented again, what a great program this is. And it makes you go home feeling like, okay, I don't care what they said on the 10 o'clock news, the world's going to be okay. We got good kids out there. So this just helps them kind of sink their teeth in being entrepreneurs and wanting to be part of business. Our Titan Awards is our kind of our hallmark. It really has been something that has made a difference in us. This year we honored Sandy Henry from Mickey Couture, James Clark from Clearlink, Keith McMullen from Deseret Management, and then I mentioned earlier that Brian Epperson and Target River were honored at our Titan Awards for small business. But we had to move from Little America Grand Ballroom over to one of the ballrooms at Grand America. Now we're moving to another one of their ballrooms this year in 2025 to be able to accommodate. It's just grown and has been successful. It puts us in a different stratosphere being able to have this kind of event. In 2024, we had a total of 196 new members, and we had 20 from Cottonwood Heights. We've actually had 34 since 2024, January 2024. And in the last 2 weeks, we've had, I think it's 8. We've had 8 new Cottonwood Heights members join in just in the last 2 weeks. So, the last slide said thank you. It doesn't, so I will. We are happy with our partnership with Cottonwood Heights, and I have to pay you a compliment, Mayor. I was at another meeting somewhere, and somebody said, "Hey, Mayor Wickers really said some nice things about you. Is it true?" I said, "Probably not." So, but thank you, and thank you for your part. If you have any questions, it's really.
No, I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's when you look at everything that's happening, I think there's value for the businesses in Cottonwood Heights, and we're helping to be, you know, an impetus to get them into some of these things that you do. I mean, couldn't be happier. So I think, anyway, hopefully that's how everybody else feels.
One statistic that is, Brayden and I were looking at events and from 2024, and probably between 100 and 120 Cottonwood Heights businesses attended our different events. And so and we're out there, we're offering You know, I had one of your great businesses call me yesterday. And she was reaching out, needed some, one of the great Quillet Key. Lori, and we had a great talk, and she says, I need more people to be, anyway, so. We're just happy to be a resource, so.
Well, thank your staff. We appreciate all that they do, and thanks for coming to a boring city council meeting.
And thank you to the chief, because I got one of his special business cards, so.
So now you can speed in our city. Don't tell.
That's
tell
right.
everyone.
I'm listening.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Great. So we're gonna move on to item B under reports, and that's gonna be a action item or a subject of Public Works update on traffic calming. So I know, Matt, you're gonna give us some updates on some things that have been done. Is that?
I am going to deflect
Oh.
right now too.
Yeah, I forgot your big
The-
man Ben is here. Yeah,
We did a swap-a-roo, so I'm doing his and he's doing mine.
okay.
So I would like to turn the time over to Ben to discuss, mostly this is Danish Road and the traffic calming the council authorized a few months ago. So with that, I'll let Ben. Or do you want me to keep talking till you pull it up? I can fake it till you pull it up.
I figured I'd put it over here. I brought my pointer stick today, so I'm ready to go. When I tried to use them last time, they didn't work, so I'm
They're,
skeptical. of the
they're
pointers.
built now, they're ready to go.
All right, so I think it was February, we came and presented kind of a conceptual traffic calming configuration for the intersection of Danish Road and Daneborg. So this was the conceptual design that we put together, essentially just something that's pretty quick and dirty, not a lot of money, but to see how it's gonna work and the effect that it's gonna have. We ended up not putting up these cones on Daneborg, just because as we were putting them up, a bus came along and he told us that he takes wider turns and so we eliminated those to accommodate the buses and the larger traffic coming up Daneborg, but so on
Bus goes up Daneboard?
the school bus, yeah.
That's a steep hill.
Yeah. So this was the 22nd of May, we installed the traffic calming. So again, this is just kind of what it actually looked like once it was on the ground. These are little temporary bollards. They're there's a sticky pad underneath them. They're melted into the ground. So this was also the 22nd of May. So somebody went out right after we went out and pulled them all up and threw them on the side of the road. We collected them. We appreciate that they left them there for us to recollect and then put them back out again. They haven't been tampered with since the 23rd when we put them back up. So so this is kind of, I went out and took some pictures just so that you guys can see what it looks like. So about 100 feet of the traffic calming on each side, we have this sign that notifies that there's a traffic pattern change. This is pretty standard just to let people know that the road might not look like what they last saw it looking like. This is heading south. So yeah, again, I've showed the pictures, but basically we push the traffic to have, we have 12 feet of asphalt on each side of the traffic calming median. It's about 10 feet to the shoulder here. So we put it in with, you know, our snow plows in mind. If this was a structure that stayed permanently, we want to be able to make sure that our snow plows can clear that and that they're not going to be taking out whatever we're installing. This is on the south side of the intersection going north. Same thing, we have the signage, and then this is the same thing, just from a different angle. So our response so far, we've had 2 positive phone calls, and as we've stood out on the corner, we've gotten some thumbs up from some residents. You know, that it's people rarely call us when they're happy with what we do anyway, so I don't know that I would expect anything different. We've gotten a pretty significant number of phone calls opposed to the project, letting us know There are concerns with the project and there's kind of a myriad of concerns that people have brought up to, with the project.
Can you share some of those? Is that, are you going to?
So some of the concerns have been safety, pedestrian safety, where we're pushing traffic off to the shoulders of the road. And, you know, Danish Road doesn't have a sidewalk on the west side of the street there, so people, they're concerned because people use that to walk. And then, you know, you have the pedestrians that are essentially now in the travel lane.
Okay.
The people have called and, you know, made comments that they live in the area and they haven't been concerned with the speed, and it feels like a exercise in futility, maybe. Do you have something?
Well, yes, I have a number of things because I've spent hours on this. And Mike, if you could go back to the pictures that were up that show, or if you could, I'm sorry, Ben. So I'm really appreciative that the Public Works Department put together this demonstration project to try to slow the traffic down. And I just want to remind council members that one of the driving forces on this is the children who have a bus stop.
Do you want the overhead now?
Yeah, could you do the overhead map? So, you know, sometimes I question what drives our decisions on how to do things. And this is a very complicated thing, because when you really get to visiting with the residents, many of whom have lived there for not only years, but decades, and went to school, etc. And it used to be that for the many families that live in this area, there used to be a choice to either catch a bus here on Daneboard. Again, this is Daneboard, and this is Danish running north-south. Oh, we
There you
need to go
go.
up farther away. So do we have one that gives a bigger
I can.
view? So right now, the children who live in this area walk through the most dangerous part of Danish Road, where not only is there not a sidewalk, there is also no shoulder. So the asphalted area, what would you say the width of the asphalted area is total? In the narrow section where the kids walk through? Is it 24? I don't know, it's not 30 feet. So the point is that we're concerned about snow plows, and we know now that a snow plow could get through, or a bus could turn. But what we need to really be considering is the fact that despite, and I raised this 3 years ago, should we be doing some kind of facility to bring pedestrians to where the existing sidewalk is? This is the only place on Danish, one of the only places where there's sidewalk on the east side. Otherwise, all of the sidewalk, all the population of people that live to the west that want to go for a walk, they come out onto Danish.
Sorry.
And in all the other places, again, on the length of the majority of Danish, the sidewalk is on the west side, with the exception of this area. Then there's no sidewalk at all in here. And what this vantage point doesn't show is, can you scroll down a little bit more? Or pull down? Is that there is a rather significant hill. Pull
That's on the
pull
north.
down this way if you could.
Go north.
So there is a significant hill that's fine. Is this Daneboard?
It's-
This is Daneboard. So there is a significant hill located approximately in here, where cars approaching from the north cannot see ahead. And so the section where the children are walking here, could it be how the school came up with that as a safe route? I'll never know, but short of changing that, all the pedestrians are subject to this idea that if they want to stay on the same side of the road, they're going to go through a section where there's not only no sidewalk, there's no shoulder. And the reason I keep beating the drum on that is that I'm so glad we're doing the demonstration project, but what it has brought to light is that even though the cars are aggravated and slow down a bit as they come to this installation area here, it is not protecting the pedestrians, because as one resident pointed out, well, there's so many elements. as you may know, there's double yellow line through here, through this whole area of Danish. And in the mind of most motorists, if you see a thick double yellow line, you normally see those on arterials. And it's usually denoting speed and boy, stay on your side of the road. And a local resident told me that he thought the first thing we could do that would be very inexpensive is get rid of that double yellow line. And especially in these narrow areas. And another resident, because I've talked to at least 6 residents, just when I've come down to take a look at how it's going, they pull to the side of the road and want to talk. And they say, look, with my automobile, if I see pedestrians on this west side of the road, I go into the center. If I don't have an oncoming car, I drive over the center line of the double yellow line to make sure I give the pedestrians the 3 feet. I think, as we all know by state law, bicycles and pedestrians, a motorist must give them 3 feet. So our current installation actually, sadly, makes it more dangerous for the pedestrians. What we really need to do, and I said this, I will say last year, but these are our professionals and they did the best they could to put this together. But where we need to slow the traffic down and alert them is where the current sign that says you have a new traffic pattern coming up. And I went through the MUTCD signs trying to find the one that I've seen before but it can say for the next quarter mile, 15 miles an hour. You know, you're coming into a quarter mile zone, 15 miles an hour, get rid of the double yellow lines and put a speed bump at the bottom of this hill, because where you need to slow cars, they come up over the hill and whoa, there's not only these new, delineators in the road ahead of them, but if they should also suddenly come across pedestrians or cyclists, it's really, they need to slow down here so that by the time they get to this part, they're already going slow. And also the problem with the delineators is it doesn't give them that ability to drive in the center of the road as necessary to give the pedestrians who all want to walk on this west side of the road the space they need.
So I think we're all I think we get that point. Let's get back to Ben and let him kind of finish, but that I'm appreciative that you.
I think
that
we
you
call
shared
this a
that.
council meeting and I appreciate that I'm able to share with my colleagues. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so, yeah, the thing that I've seen as I've been out there is traffic definitely is slowing down to go around it. It's pretty hard not to slow down, to do that. So I guess just going forward with our next steps, right now we're just kind of letting it sit while people get used to it. Really, we want to take speed samples once people are familiar with what's going on, so we can see realistically if this will if something like this has a long-term effect, or if once they're comfortable with it, people are just going to resume going the speed that they were.
Yeah, because the one thing that I'll add to that, and I think I'm a little envious of you, Alan, because you've got this great little pilot that's happening in your district. I've got a bunch of areas, and I've talked to these folks about Greenfield and others, and I'm constantly getting people that reach out. And I am telling them that we are studying this in another part. As much as they would love it in their area, we're studying this in another part of the city. We're going to let that play out. And if there are things that prove true that will slow it down, I think that's a larger council discussion of, okay, should we fund some more of these things in other places? So I love what you all are doing. I'm super appreciative. I am pointing to this exercise as a way to calm people down for future resources, but
well, I think the
what
really,
they're doing is pretty great.
really important thing here is that roadways have very different characteristics, and each one requires extremely thoughtful. And even if you talk to experts around the country, the reason why they are in favor of these demonstration projects, and I'm so glad you're telling your constituents about this, is it's an inexpensive way to figure out whether it's going to work or not. So before you go to the expense of laying concrete and putting in the wonderful trees you have in mind because they're part of your general plan, et cetera, you are putting these inexpensive delineators in. then you are understanding, oh, wait, this doesn't solve the problem of the blind hill, or
Sure.
the pedestrians are jumping into the trees. Neither Ben or I
Let
brought
me
that
ask,
up.
let me ask Ben and Matt if I could. We appreciate everything that you put into, the effort you put into.
Cause this is also where we did the speed bumps, correct? Is it the
No.
same?
No,
Oh, that's a
no,
different.
that's-
Because of,
part of it.
because of the lack
Okay.
of sidewalk on the west side of the street, should we maybe pull it out and do some, pedestrian safety is probably number one for us. We don't, the last thing we'd want to do is endanger anybody that's walking in. If they have sidewalk the whole west side except for this portion, they're not gonna go back over to the east side. They're gonna stay on that shoulder and it could be
sure.
dangerous. So my question is, should we pull them before we go into more data-driven exercises with whether or not it's slowing down speed?
What do you mean pull? As far as where we are now, the scenario that's created?
Yeah,
Let me put it this way, I'll never recommend we do anything that invites a pedestrian into a road. Okay, I mean, I understand that's what's out there now. I would like to run some speed numbers just to see what we've got. I mean, we can move our data up a little bit and put the radar detectors on that and see if we've had any kind of driver behavior. Anecdotally, and just standing there, I think we have had driver behavior change. Like Ben said, you don't really have an option. You come around there and you have
Yeah,
to
just
slow
slow
down.
down.
I mean, you're not, it's just not comfortable, which is traffic calming. It's just not comfortable. The issue, and Councilmember Burrell has brought it up, and I agree, and I won't, is pedestrian question. The solution to that, one more time, I'll go on record, is a sidewalk. But they are expensive and they are costly, and we have worked on ways to get sidewalks in there. I don't know of a simple solution, to be honest with you, Mayor. We wanted to try this and see how it works. We found it does slow traffic down. It has some, I won't say consequences, but unintended scenarios are created that, yeah, we should probably address.
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't have a good answer, and like's been said, each roads are contextual. It's what's around it is. Everybody's finally coming to this understanding is a road is not just a road, but it's contextual.
Well, and I
things that are around.
want to be sure to go on record. I know our time we're gone over on this subject, but this is so important. This isn't just the world according to Ellen Burrell. I have met with a representative from the Wasatch Front Regional Council, and in his expertise, when he looked at the roadway, his first comment was, I would get rid of those double yellow lines running down the center. They connotate fast speeds. So I guess I'm asking if the council, the things we could do immediately to help to calm the situation would be to remove that double yellow line and to put a speed bump in to the north and to the south. And everybody here knows, and if Scott Bracken were still in the council, he and I were both advocating for, speed bumps are not the answer. But as our public works director has just said, things are contextual. And I have now, with 2 years of deliberating on this and researching it, I do now agree with the residents who say in the least there should be a speed bump that slows people down before they come over the blind hill coming southbound, and likewise those coming northbound before they come around the blind curve. Because one of the things that's so wonderful is the arch of trees that's over the most narrow section, but it's over the section with no shoulder, no sidewalks, and a blind curve. So contextually, there needs to be a speed bump before cars drive into that most dangerous section, unless we come up with the hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it would take to buy the land and build the sidewalks tomorrow, which we know is not going to happen. So
that sounds like a possible solution. What I want to address first is to know, is it worth keeping these delineators up to collect speed data? Or, and I'm going to ask the council, because we it endangers some, it's not worth it. Okay, let's, I think,
We know it slows them down. We already know
okay,
that. It's not, that was one of the questions.
okay,
Having the three legs delineated really created a slowing situation. We had to pull one of the legs off, like you heard, because of the bus and the larger trucks. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get any, we're gonna get slower speeds,
yeah.
no doubt. So
The question is there
Question is-
a better place to put that it would be needed on Danish?
That doesn't
That,
impact.
that wouldn't impact people that are, there's sidewalk on both sides and if there is, maybe you don't know that answer yet, and maybe that's something to look at.
yeah, we'd have to take a closer look
Okay.
at different locations on Danish if we want to run this type of delineation, if you will, traffic calming delineation as a test pilot somewhere else. I would agree, yes, 100%. If we have sidewalks on both sides and running something like this would
Might
be
be
a
a good
perfect
place to-
scenario for that.
Could I ask you your opinion on Councilmember Burrell's thought of removing the double yellow lines, I guess?
I'm curious. I've never heard that. I've never had that where the double yellows are typically on a road where they're narrow rural roads where you can't pass. That's what they're built for.
You can't have a sign, MUCD has a sign that says do not pass. And in both these narrow sections, instead of the double yellow line, it could say do not pass. And also a much slower speed in the two narrow sections with a speed bump. So the motorist sees the sign, quarter mile ahead, 15 miles an hour, speed bump. Like they get it. The next quarter mile, I got to slow down to 15 miles an hour. And then without that double line, the motorist can, as they're going 15 miles an hour, oh, there's kids on the right, the left, the bicycle. I mean, we're coming into the summer season. There's only going to be more and more. And one thing that I need to share, I don't care if I'm going over that, one of the residents told me that she saw a man who looked behind him where the installation was and the vehicle's coming and the car, and he jumped into the trees because again, no shoulder, no sidewalk, and there's bushes and trees, which of course he lived to tell the tale. But unless we have cameras that show near misses, I think we would all have to agree. He's seen some anecdotal things and so has Matt Ship and so have I. But we're
Joel, yeah.
I was just gonna mention that the double yellow line is a universal message to all drivers not to pass and to be cautious. And there's nothing that says you cannot go over it to avoid somebody. I think it takes a little bit more time for people to develop habits. And this is a great opportunity with this test area for people to start developing habits. We heard the same thing up by Bywater when the raised crosswalk went in. There were a lot of complaints, and now the residents are saying, this is great. I didn't like it at first. After the tree went out and it was up the next day, we're cool with it. It takes a lot of time, just like current driver behavior. It takes a little bit of time for people to learn that this.
Well, I completely agree. Paradigm shifts take some time, but Bywater Park is also my district. And my constituents are not telling me that they're pleased with the location of that crosswalk. And it has not satisfied the many families that live on the south side of Nut Tree, whose children still don't have a safe way to get to the park because they are not going to walk all the way up and around to where that crosswalk is. So I'm glad to hear that you've had some positive feedback. I have not, and that is my District 4.
Now, I just know a lot of people that live there, and they said we wanted more, but we're happy with what we've got, and we're glad to see that there.
So as council members, you represent a district, but you vote for the entire city. So it's not like one area of the city isn't important to everybody.
And Matt, my understanding on 1700 East, where we did the sidewalk project, Doug's project, I believe you have to you're kind of scraping out some of these lines there. I know that I wanted to get them kind of paved over and fixed so you didn't have this kind of hazy former line that's there. My guess is they're not easy to remove, right? It's not a simple.
You either grind them or paint them.
You grind it, but still, you really kind of almost have to pave over some of those areas that you grind without.
Yeah.
So I think my point is it'd probably be nice if there's probably other fish to fry before we get to the line.
I'm not in
Issue.
favor of removing the double yellows. Because think of Portsmouth. Portsmouth, if you don't have those double yellows there, they will just scream around the corner and ignore the fact that there's 2 lanes. And so I would support the speed bumps, but I would not support double yellow removal.
One of the traffic calming measures is double or white lines on the outside and making the road narrower.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thank
if that's something we could do coming up to the hill to maybe people feel less comfortable coming up to the top of the hill and they know. to slow down
I'd be
a bit.
supportive of that for
That
sure.
sounds to me like a
Yeah.
better.
The narrower
alternative.
lane, we need the
Taking-
visuals that send the
Yeah.
signal to the mind of the motorist, so.
We do have those temporary speed bumps. We can run the same test through this area with those. And,
I'm okay with that. Is anybody not?
I just worry about the snow plows.
They come up, they're temporary. They
Well, I
have to
mean-
come up
I
for,
mean, we're doing it temporary and then all of a sudden,
so what you do
this
is you're
is the
hoping you're
option.
creating the habit during the summer.
that's.
But they,
what
they
I'm-
don't work with the.
Well, we have very many residential areas, Prospector, the north portion of
North
Danish
End of
Road.
Danish has this speed
So
bumps.
there's a lot of places there's speed bumps, and
Right.
I don't think that we should
Yeah.
plan the safety and well-being of our city
The north
around a
of Creek,
fleet of snowplows.
Between Creek and Bengal, they work. really
But
well.
I know I'm in the minority and where we've gone over on this subject.
What jumps?
So so
The only thing I would say is, if we're going to put some things in place to help control some speed, soon as we continue to expand that, there are other areas that are gonna start demanding these things, and we've gotta be prepared for that. It is, I can't approve this in other areas and then tell folks on Greenfield, tough. I mean, that I understand you don't wanna not have any progress for the sake of fear that others aren't gonna be able to take part, but the only way that I'm gonna support something of us investing additional dollars towards that, if there's a legitimate plan in place for us to say, okay, we're gonna eventually get to these areas and we're gonna start planning for some of this stuff, or else these folks are just toast.
But that was the whole reason we wanted a comprehensive safety action
100%,
plan, and we
I know.
built it in this budget.
I know.
We wanted that prioritization matrix to be the outcome of a
then I
citywide.
killed more because we didn't know that it was gonna get funded by the federal government.
Yeah, that was
Go
my
ahead,
understanding.
want an update on
Yes.
that?
Yeah, that would be great.
We received the agreement today. We're finalizing some things in it.
Good time.
So there's money.
Matt,
They have money, yes.
Matt is
Okay.
such a tease.
No, I just got it today. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but yeah, they,
I know.
But the match was.
they signed, they sent it over. We're redlining our portion of it, making sure it outlines what we want. We'll get it back. So the doors are open again. So as soon as I have a final agreement with the feds and we've worked out everything else, we'll be bringing that. Hopefully in the next month, we'll have all that back to you.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that update. Quick question to Councilmember Holton's point. If, paint is about the cheapest thing that we can do to
Yeah.
hopefully make some changes. If Councilmember Holton went and said, hey, look, on Greenfield, I'd really love those outside white lines to narrow what people think is the drivable area, which will get them to slow down. The process is, I don't think anybody's gonna object to that, right? Are you okay to have a request and just go ahead and do something like that?
Yeah, we're fine with that. We would need to look at limiting what type of roads they're on, like Greenfield, through road, Danish, through all of these that are through
Mhm.
minor
A
collectors.
little bit
if you
higher
will.
traffic.
Yeah, higher traffic, we start putting them on all of our roads, we're gonna find ourselves,
Yeah, no, I get that.
in a different kind
Yeah.
of situation. But
Councilmember Burrow, how would you feel about starting with the white lines and doing some speed?
Well,
studies?
again, everything should be thought of contextually.
Sure.
And there's a lot of details. What width? Are we talking 8-foot lanes? 9-foot lanes? If you paint them 10, 11, 12 feet, that all the more sense to the motorist. Oh, good, I can go wildly fast like
Face
that.
face probably.
So I'm not in favor of just saying white lines or, is it better than nothing? Maybe in some cases it is. But the thing about candlesticks, or I refer to all that as delineators, is, they're standing up. Oh, I'm not gonna bump up against that with my car, a line on the road. And then also you have to be careful what signal you're sending to the pedestrian. I always come back to the fact that all of our serious injuries and deaths in the city of Cottonwood Heights over the last 4 years have been people in crosswalks, with the exception of the man that stepped off the curb because the sidewalk went right up to the roadway with no shoulder. So if you talk to someone like Bruce Jorgensen, who has had a career in city development, he will roll his eyes and say, all these sidewalks that we have in Cottonwood Heights, where the sidewalk comes right to the curb, where the cars are driving, like on Danish, that's like one of the most dangerous things you can do. That's why we have a park strip in our general plan. You know, you have a park strip separating the pedestrian from the roadway. And then if we don't, I mean, it's so contextual. I wish it was easy, but I think any of us that pledge that we are in favor of safe streets, we need to gruel through this. And we should come up with a process by which we rate things, and, you know, it's complicated, but human life is sacred.
I think the point is, let's take some small steps that we can do in your area that also isn't cost prohibitive, that we can do in mine, start addressing some of these areas. I think the painted lines sound like a decent approach to start there. And I think our folks would be thrilled about that.
Ben, did you get through everything you needed to get to?
Wait,
You did. Okay.
before you
So we
take
got
us,
about
Mayor,
2
but you
minutes,
brought
so-
up something that's so important. I want to thank the mayor. Has this demonstration project actually brought more danger to this area? And I don't think we have the answer to that. And I appreciate that the mayor wants to know, do we take these candlesticks out? Because if, God forbid, some pedestrian leaped into the bushes or got struck or something happened, and this was blamed on this delineator project being placed where it is without any proper way.
I
mean,
took
I just don't
Matt's-
want the city to be
I took
liable.
Matt's shaking of his head that meant he was gonna pull him. Was I wrong about that?
No, we'll pull them.
Okay. They're gonna pull him immediately.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, good subject. Obviously, we've got a bunch of work to do on this item, and we'll keep doing that. There's lots of places in our city that need this extra attention. So item number C on reports, I'm thrilled and excited. So we're gonna talk about the town center RFP, some updates to that. We have some really, really important guests and new friends here with us. So Mike, I'm gonna turn a little bit of time over to you.
Sure, yeah, I'll take a minute here. As I think many of you are aware, we've been through finally the RFP selection process with an internal RFP selection committee. And narrowed down our final choice to the development team consisting of Onyx Development and Thrive Development to kind of see us through this town center project. We've given them a preliminary award letter and are now working on ironing out details of a letter of intent and a formal agreement. And then we'll get to work with them for years to come here. But we thought it'd be good to invite the principals of their team in tonight to introduce themselves to the council, kind of put names to faces and groups and give everyone a chance to kind of get to know each other, have them give a little background and introduction about who they are and what they do and kind of, why they see this project as such an exciting opportunity. So if you're okay, we can
Perfect.
invite them up.
Yeah, let's
and-
bring them
and
to the.
Turn it over to them.
We got seats?
We'll make
Give
some.
us the seats.
Where do you guys want us?
Just kind of at the end, we got some.
Oh, we go
people
very, very.
moving, yeah.
That's how, you just took the chief seat. That's important.
No, not me. I'm sitting over here.
Chair, you still if you need it.
Yeah, of course.
Keep your hand on your wallet.
Well, welcome.
Thank you guys so
Karen.
much.
Yes,
Um,
Chaz, and so this is, we'd love an introduction.
Sure. So before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys for this opportunity. We are so excited to be at this table with you right now. This is what development is about for me, and I think for our whole team, is placemaking with an engaged city. I don't think there's better real estate development that happens than with two collaborative partners, working towards a similar goal of a dynamic, engaged, thoughtfully designed city center. I've been fortunate to be part of that before with the people at this table. We were instrumental in putting together holidays downtown. And through that, we've learned a lot of lessons, but we also, I think, came away with a sense of what placemaking in Utah can be. And we are thrilled to share that with you guys. To get started, maybe an intro, and then
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you guys as well, because I think we're gonna be seeing a lot of each other over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
My name is Ken Melby. I am the principal at Onyx Development. I have been doing development work professionally since about 2010. A lot of notable projects, retail, apartments, office, and a lot of it are with the people in these chairs. Primarily in Utah, the Mountain West is kind of our main region, but we really do prefer working here in our home state. We're based in Holiday, Utah, and this has been far and away the most exciting project we've been able to work on since Holiday. So I'm really excited to work with you all, and I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Scott.
Yeah, great to meet everybody. Really glad to be here. My name's Scott Neff. I'm also one of the founding partners of Onyx. My background, been in real estate, construction and development for the last, since about 2010. Varying all kinds of varying projects for mixed use apartments, tilt up medical office, the whole stretch. But really, really excited to be here. I'm born and raised in Mill Creek, so working on projects that are close to home feels great. And the city, you guys have done such a good job of preparing this for a project that is incredibly exciting. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you for the time. Again, thank you for allowing us to be part of this. I represent Thrive Development. I'm one of the founding partners of Thrive. We are based out of Midvale, just up the street here on Fort Union. We've been in a real estate company for the last 10 years. We were formed in 2015. Both my partner and I have been working in the industry since 2003. On the commercial side, I handle the commercial side for the partnership. And Steve Broadbent, who regrets he's not able to be here today. He's racing from meetings out of state. He's hoping to be here, but he got delayed. So we might see him in the next few minutes. He manages the multifamily side for our business. And Connor Johnson, he is our senior project manager for multifamily. So we asked him to come in Steve's place tonight. Just a quick side note, we came here a few days ago and we met with some traffic planners and engineers. And there was a spirit of, this is so exciting for both the engineers and for the developers and for the city officials that we could just sit down and talk through a project like this and be open and try to come up with a solution rather than be us present something, you guys come back and push back on it. They tell us we can't do it. But we look forward to this same type of spirit of operation where we can come together as a partnership and come up with something that's going to be amazing for your community for years to come.
What's your name?
Kaz Johnson. Yes, thank you.
Connor, you want to say anything?
Yes, just as Chad said, I'm Connor, been in the industry for 8 years. So excited to work on this project, echo the thoughts on our excitement level and appreciation to be here. Listening to you discuss the other issues in the city, I think we're excited to be in a spot where the people who live on Danish or in that area, should be so appreciative to the thoughts of level and care that you guys are giving to that the same people that will reside and spend time in the Heights will feel that same level of thought and commitment to make it for placemaking that they'll feel that there. So we're really excited.
Well, so let me just add, a few days ago, Ken and I met at Hillside and walked the property. And talked about, vision and some things. And, I said something to Ken. I said, Ken, you're the only person that I think that might match. I can't even sleep at night half the time thinking about this. And it's been a long time and I'm so excited. And I felt, honestly, during the process, I felt that from day one, from Chaz and Ken and Scott and everybody, that this is a really, really exciting project for them. And I could sense investment in more than just an ROI. This is not just an ROI opportunity for them. I knew that early on. And it's one of the things that made me sense, or want to be partnered with them. So I can't tell you how excited I am. I'd love for the council to be able to ask you guys some questions.
Please.
I know they're going to be there'll be questions about the holiday project, because the holiday project was, there's a lot of people that, not a lot of people, a high majority think that was an awesome project. And you guys were a big part of that, that partnered with other people. But so anyway, but I'll open up to the council for unless there was anything else that you guys wanted to say before I interrupted.
I would just like to say, we're here to learn from you guys. This is your city. You know it as better than anyone else. We want to hear from you, you know, what your citizens want out of this. We want to know the best way to engage with your citizens, because we want to hear from them as well directly. We want as much feedback as you guys have. We want to hear from you. This is a collaborative effort. This is your city. You're enabling this to happen. So let's, you know, and that partnership, we treat it very seriously. And there's a lot of smart people in this room, and we want to hear from every single one of you. And we want to know what you envision this as and how we can help translate that into a real project. So
Awesome.
we're here to learn. Please ask away.
Let me add one other thing before questions. So to give you just a background of where we are. So we are in the middle of Shane's looking at me very intensely. I don't want to say something I shouldn't. We're look at signing a letter of intent. Okay, you know, Shane just yell if I say something I shouldn't. Once that is signed, then we will go into the development agreement phase and get into specifics. So that's where we are. We haven't signed the LOI yet. And then, so wanted to set the table of where they currently sit. Shane, anything you want to add?
I guess I would just say, tell the council that we're going to have a CDRA meeting next, and there will be just one item on the agenda, closed session, where we'll go through what's contemplated in this LOI. We're close to having that finalized, but I think that will be the time to talk about the actual business points of the LOI.
Perfect. Councilmember Neal, sorry.
Just wanted to state one thing and then question. First one is I so appreciate the way that you've gone through this process and the things that you talked to us about and shown us, and the collaboration. It's just been phenomenal. One question I keep getting from residents is, what is the process for the current leasees there on the property?
Fantastic question. I am going to unfortunately have to deflect a little back to through wonderful staff. We are a little, and feel free anyone to jump in if I'm getting any of this wrong, but we're a little early in this process without the LOI signed and engaging in the development process. I don't think we've broached that with the council or staff. I would love to know what you guys think on how we should handle that. I think we could make accommodations for businesses that would like to remain, but it would come at a financial cost that frankly the city would participate in.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want to make sure that we are all eyes wide open on what that looks like. I have done that in the past. I've done it successfully through the Harmons project. We relocated Great Harvest. We offered all of our tenants to relocate. They were the only ones who wanted to take the ride, so to speak, with us. And that was so successful. In fact, if you ever want to talk to someone who's been through that process, and it was a very rocky road because you have to find temporary space, you have to move them back. I would happily bring Steve, the owner of Great Harvest, in if he would be willing to talk to you guys.
This was really a test. I appreciate your answer. That's what I've basically been telling folks is, hey, look, there's been no decisions. You know, and I told them the same thing. There's probably gonna be a cost to, you know, coming in because this is a brand new development, brand new type of development.
Yes.
So I just really appreciated that answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sean, you've been saying that to your folks that it'll be done by Christmas.
I wouldn't do that to you, me, or Dave.
Yeah, I didn't say what you're.
Yeah.
5 Christmases.
Christmas 27.
But then
Maybe.
No, of course. Thank you.
Well, maybe I'll jump in if that's okay,
Yeah.
Mayor, because my question is kind of is in the same arena as Sean Newell's, and that is that you know, one of the attractive things that we had hoped for when we purchased initially the 10 acres, and that frankly was in my decision making as an elected representative to bond the city to this tune and know this was a long-term project, was what my constituents told me was they want a few things. They want smaller, more mom and pop. They don't want big cookie cutter businesses, certainly not big box stores. But they
100%.
wanted smaller restaurants and services that were locally owned, smaller. And you, like, if I think of Holiday, and I've been to the coffee shop there and wandered around and such, and it does have a nice feeling. It's well removed from the roadway. So whether it's the current lessees, the bar owner, what's the name of the bar?
Huddle. The Huddle.
The Huddle. Or other, so a lot of reasons we all know with small business owners is they cannot afford to take the lead.
Yes.
And that's why they either stay put and hope that their rent doesn't go up every year. Or when I talk to some of the small business owners that I've either eaten their food or partaken in their services, let's say within a 5-mile radius of Cottonwood Heights. And I don't think they're going to be able to afford the kind of leases that we'll be able to offer, and I understand it's brand new building space. But therein lies, to me, one of the big challenges, because I want this town center to anchor a portion of Fort Union Boulevard. It'll be the easterly anchor. And as you go west on Fort Union Boulevard over time, all the way maybe to Whitmore Library or Montview Park, it creates a real sense of walkability. I want to go there and run into my neighbors and have a little something to eat, stop at a few shops, get out of my car. Like they've done in Park City so successfully with the stack parking off to the side, and then you get on Main Street. Now I know we're not going to have Park City's Main Street, but something that is Cottonwood Heights that right now, if you, and I challenge you all, if you haven't already, leave your car parked at the Hillside Plaza, walk on the south side of the street all the way to Whitmore Library, then cross over and then walk back to Hillside Plaza on the north side of the street, and tell me what it feels like.
Sure. Well, and I actually did that
We have done that.
pretty recently.
Oh, very good.
In fact, if you don't find me in my office, you'll often find me working in my car in Hillside Plaza, so I can see all of this happen.
Yeah.
Because it's very instructional, and that's an excellent point. If I were to, do you want me to handle this? If I were to kind of address that point by point, you're absolutely right. I think that you're envisioning of anchored local tenants, and by local, that could be Cottonwood Heights or just Utah,
Yeah.
is the lifeblood of what a development is. We can build as pretty of buildings as you want to see. Without tenants, they're just buildings. They're the tenants are the heart and soul of these things, and local owners have more buy-in. It's how they pay their mortgage. It's how they feed their family. They're there every day. They form bonds in the community. We love that. I will say statistically, once you get to the second and third location, you usually have a more durable, I guess would be a word, business. And I think that may be an avenue we could approach collaboratively, is looking for groups that have one location that's very successful and they're looking to expand.
Well, if I may just
please.
interject something. So because it will come right back to
Sure.
this. So I also would ask, out of the four of you, who has read through our 2016, 2017 Fort Union Boulevard master plan?
The traffic study?
No.
If
We
any of
have
you have.
That is an
I'm
unfair
committed
question.
Yeah, I have
We
not.
have-
to saying all that.
We, the city of Cottonwood Heights, spent a lot of time and money and had a 42-person residential group that met regularly, and the city of Cottonwood Heights, I believe it was in 2017, adopted the Fort Union Boulevard master plan. So what I just described is not what Ellen wants. I want to go on record. This is what the city of Cottonwood Heights has as an adopted master plan, Fort Union Boulevard master plan. And it describes many of the things I just described. So again, I didn't dream this up.
Sure.
So I wanted to interject that because you were talking about, and also I want to interject that, for instance, a business owner over on State Street, Del Barrio, it's a little Mexican restaurant. you haven't eaten there, it's killer. It's great. It's like 7,800 South.
I was there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Great.
So I'm talking to Carlos, who's the owner, and he's in exactly the position you're talking about. They get their doors locked down, knocked up with patronage. And he said, yeah, right now we are looking to open our second Del Barrio.
Yeah.
And they were approached by the developers around the Bees Stadium. And he went there and he said, oh, but you know, they would expect me to give out a $300,000 initial to start leasing, and it wouldn't have any of the ovens and the different space I need. He said, so that's out of the question. So he said, so we'll probably find a rundown Mexican restaurant, and I think he had identified one somewhere, and they'll already have the ovens, and I won't have to have this larger initial investment. So, you know, there is a graphic, and I'm sure you're aware of these things, you know, to have these successful, you know, locally owned businesses is super tricky. So I love the word collaborate. That's probably my favorite word in the English language. And I'm so glad to know that, you know, your goal is to look, and I think I speak for my council colleagues, that we do want this to be a place that just feels so good, you know, like placemaking, where, you know, our residents say, oh, it feels like Cottonwood Heights, you know, it's something special. It's not another, you know, series of Olive Gardens and all this stuff like that.
Absolutely. And
Unlimited breadsticks and salad.
Food connoisseur.
No, I'm gonna piggyback on that. I don't have a ton of questions for you all. I have some opinions on things, but there's a process for that, which we'll go through, so I won't bore you with all of those. My only question is how can we be more supportive? How can we be collaborative along the process, or the things that you need from us that we can step up to the plate and hit out of the park for you all?
I have to be honest, this is the most engaged city I have ever worked with. I don't know if you guys feel differently.
Just lie to us if not.
Yeah, and I'll always say that no matter what you guys.
Yeah.
We told each other we have till 11 PM to
Yeah.
text and call each other.
Yeah. So, and
He said midnight for me. I'm just kidding.
you guys have been fantastic. I foresee this to be an incredibly enjoyable process, hopefully on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that there will be points where we'll disagree, and I hope I can lay out how we feel, and you guys can do the same, and we can meet in the middle as often as possible. I think that's what's the healthy tension, I think, will make for a better project. I really, really appreciate that
Yeah.
sentiment. We come with the same energy. We want to know, how can we be the best partners for you and deliver the best product for your city that we can possibly do? If you ever see anything that we can do better, please don't hesitate to tell us. Anyone in this room,
You bet.
that's the kind of feedback we love.
Well, I'll tell you this, I wasn't part of that process like these two, but the fact that both of them said they could tell that you had it in your heart and that your intention was pure and really excited about this, as long as you keep that throughout the process, I think we're gonna rock it.
That's going to be easy. This is the most exciting thing that I think you can do in commercial real estate. So I'm thrilled that we get to go do it.
Awesome.
To jump back in a little bit, I think this would be kind of good for everyone to hear. You know, I think that targeting local tenants, and again, before we make these decisions, this isn't something that we decide. This is something that the group decide. But, you know, there's absolutely a place for that. And I think that would be my primary suggestion. Frankly, I think we're probably going to be delivering space cheaper than Sandy, Draper, Riverton, at least that we're seeing. I think that we can probably deliver, with the city's assistance, space that makes this more cost effective than most areas of Utah, in Salt Lake County at least. I don't know the retail market off the back of my.
Well, and not one shoe fits all.
Of
you
course.
know. And I'm all for profit. I'm not trying to take away any business opportunity. But I am interested in making sure that it has that wonderful dynamic
Absolutely.
that takes a lot of collaborative thinking and really understanding what each member, what each stakeholder is trying to accomplish.
Of course.
So, you know, Carlos from Del Barrio is going to be dramatically different than an ex-person from wherever they might, Chicago or something, that has a great thing to bring in. Doesn't have to be locally owned.
I think a healthy mix is probably.
I was going to say, and this is just my opinion, I haven't dove into the numbers. This is not a void analysis. I haven't, you know, you should get the Mountain West team in here for the hard facts, but my gut says that your site, as large as it is, may benefit from a regional draw. And the reason why, very briefly, my goals when I saw this is one, create a place for Cottonwood Heights residents to call a city center, a real city center. Two is give local businesses a place that they can thrive and give your citizens a reason to spend their money in your town. And then the other one is, frankly, I would like to pull people from Sandy and Holiday and Murray and Midvale all into Cottonwood Heights and have them spend their money here too. And to accomplish that last one, there may be a good discussion around one or two regional draws. You know, something that you don't have in Sandy, you don't have in Murray, you don't have in Holiday, that gives people a reason to drive here.
Yeah.
And again, this is a discussion, this isn't an ultimatum, but something for you guys to think about and get back to me.
I mean, it's true. I drive through hell and back to get to Shields.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that stuff really, it matters.
And you know, we can find something that gives the right feeling for the area, but it may be worth exploring. And
Interesting.
you
I'd
know,
like us to think bigger.
yeah,
What will thrill our residents will also thrill our visitors. And
Yes.
I'm sure you're aware that the Cottonwood Canyons receive more visitors than Zion's National Park. We want to take part in a visitor economy because that will buoy up, our tax base, it alleviates some tax burden for our citizens. So besides just regional draw, I really want to think about placing a ski bus stop at our town center, those kinds of things.
absolutely.
I want visitors to want to stop here and not to go to downtown to patronize.
And I just absolutely must jump in because what she said, except to add to it too, please also be thinking, these local businesses need workers. And these workers are gonna be, let's face it, probably paid under $20 an hour. Where are they gonna live? The average house price, $770,000 in Cottonwood. So even to rent something in Cottonwood Heights is tough. But guess what's just west down Fort Union Boulevard? The city of Midvale. It has more apartment renters. It has 70% of their population rents an apartment. So I want to be thinking how the local businesses can also thrive with workers being able to readily come down Fort Union Boulevard, whether they've gotten out of the track stop near Del Barrio, was it you just said? Somebody said they just ate there. And be able to easily, because again, affordable living is a big challenge to people who work for under an executive level salary, to be able to also come down. And as time goes by and the paradigm that Councilman Newell likes to always remind me of, that, Utahns don't like to use transit and all this stuff, but that may change with time. Younger generations are not as eager to get their driver's license. They don't live for an American dream of owning a car. And so I am really interested in how we can develop this portion of Cottonwood Heights over the decades ahead to accommodate those who want to arrive in alternative transportation. And that's not just riding the bus. That may be on their regular bicycle, their electric bicycle. I'm not really into scooters because they're so dangerous, and we can ask the chief, all the people that get hurt related to these scooters. But this idea of not only the skiers and the tourism factor, but the people throughout the community who want to visit and not necessarily drive their private car. Although we hope to have underground parking. Wow, did I tick a lot of boxes on that? I love the idea of underground parking or stack parking. But
Any other council members wanna?
No, good, thanks to all of you, you're awesome.
Thank you guys so much. I'm really looking forward to working with every one of you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Great.
Ken.
Yeah, we're very
Josh,
excited. Thank you.
Connor.
Thank you guys.
Okay,
Thank you for
appreciate
the
you
time.
coming. Yeah.
See you.
Good night.
I wanna go eat this Mexican restaurant.
I know, I'm putting it right.
Never even been there.
It's so flavorful.
No, you can't say that, so I'm leaving right now.
It's first told me that.
Thanks,
It's
guys.
still about a year and a half.
That's, but it's Mexican.
I've
It
never
always has been.
Birria tacos there.
Yeah.
Birria
Yeah.
tacos, you step in.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
All the burrito tacos.
It's excellent.
Taco Bell burrito tacos or something.
And they give Lone Star one for their money.
But Del Taco does have birria, ramen.
They do.
Great.
You saw that?
So that was enjoyable. I'm really looking forward to this process moving forward.
Yeah.
So
Thanks to, the two of you and staff for doing all that, put all that time.
He does all the work.
no, I don't.
Thanks,
We're
guys.
all
Him and I-
doing the same. Yep. Thank you though. Okay, item D under our staff reports is so that we have the fiscal year 26 tentative budget discussion allotted. God, I know we've officially made changes now. I don't know if that's what you want to talk about, but I'll let you go however you want to go on this.
So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about, and I don't have a visual for this, but we did get our bonds priced. And so they're priced, and tomorrow we close on the bond, and so we'll receive the funds from it. So just to rehearse, the final amount of the bonds ended up being 20,075,000. There was a premium on the bond, a reoffering premium of 290,000, so that's some extra funds that we were able to receive. Excuse me, as a result of that, and we're allowed to go up to 2% over on the full 30 million that we're authorized, so that will have to be managed in the next bond issue that we do. Some of that money will go into an escrow to pay off the 2023 bond that was utilized to purchase the property. About $13 million will go up to do that, and then there's about a 15-day period and then that bond will pay off. So it'll pay off before the end of this year, but actually before the end of the month is out. But there's just a short waiting period on that. And then there is money that will come into the city. They call it the construction fund, but it's for the project. So we can utilize it for whatever we need to that's project related. Excuse me, and then there's some different things that go to underwriters and cost of issuance and et cetera in there, but we'll end up with all that money tomorrow morning about I think it's 9:30 in the morning when we close on that, and we'll have those funds transferred into our account.
What's the interest rate?
Oh, go ahead. So there you go.
5.99.
4.99.
Yeah, 4.99. Sorry, yeah,
Higher than
4.99.
Expected?
So
No, it was right in. So
it's close.
it had to blend, that's the blended rate between the tax exempt and the taxable.
Yes.
So because we have a portion of the property that's taxable, portion that'll be non-exempt, so the blended rate together is 4.99. So, and that was in the, I was
Yeah.
hoping for a
4.75.
4.75. That was
Yeah.
what I was hoping, but
And how it's structured, and the reason why it's not higher than that is it's structured to pay off the taxable portion that's the higher interest rate first. And then the non-taxable portion
okay.
with the lower interest rate last.
Makes sense.
And so that helps us on our overall interest rate, so that it's a lower overall interest rate than what it would have been if we had done other things like that. So,
the construction money will be able to start earning interest on fairly quickly too as well. So.
and the interest will go towards the project and so that's good, and stuff, and, you know, we'll manage that, but we have, you know.
Does the interest have to go to the project or can it go to general fund?
No, it needs to go
It
to
needs
the
to go to the
project.
project, okay.
Yep. And then, we'll, like I said, we'll bring more information back, but I bring that up because that goes directly to one of the adjustments that we have in our budget, and I'll now pull that up and share that. So, here you can see our budget. Okay, so this highlighted area is the changes that we made to it. So since the adopted tentative budget, we talked about this part last time. So the employee compensation is a 2% COLA and a 1% merit for civilian employees with about a 3.363 average step for sworn employees that are not already at the top of their range. If they're at the top of their range, then they would not be eligible for a merit. So that savings, again, it was $75,294 in the general fund. And then we did add, this was a late add. We've done this as an adjustment in the past, I don't know how many years, 3 years, maybe something like that. As a contribution to the Brighton Youth Football Scholarship for those who are unable to pay for that opportunity, for a $2,000 contribution there. And then the debt service, this is the part why I told you the details about the bond. We had in here 1,325,000 as a placeholder, and the actual first year debt service that we're going to have is 1,314,955. So we will set, once we get the certified rate, we will then know how much we will need to add specifically for this, and we'll have a tax rate associated with the general obligation bond portion, and then a tax rate associated with the base, if you will, tax that we utilize in our general fund on the day-to-day
basis on that. So about June 10th, it'll be available. Actually, won't be here on June 10th, but on June 12th, I'll be able to get that. I'll shoot it over to Shane so he can enter it into the documents that he needs to send that into. And then that will get circulated around to each of you for the budget adoption. The one other item that we will get is our final property tax new growth. And so that's calculated by the auditor's office and the state tax commission. It's kind of a collaboration between both because of some centrally assessed items like mainly power lines in our city. I don't think we have any railways, but power line easements are centrally assessed in that. So, and we'll get that final number. That's the only outstanding item that I know of right now that we're going to have us a change as we move into next week, or not next week, 2 weeks from today. So unless you all direct me to do something else in terms of an adjustment to this budget.
We expect with the continuous increase in values, the rate to go down probably again. Right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm anticipating that. I actually just today got the new, let me look on the number, the new average home price in the city was sent to me today by the county, and it's 819,000. So it was 770. Now it's 819, so it's gone up about 50,000.
Is that average or median? Which is
That is the average residential value in Cottonwood Heights.
average was probably higher than median.
Right, I'm sorry, what is it? 7 what?
819,000. It was 770
70
something.
And it's now
right here.
819?
819, yeah, that was just given based on the latest data for 2025 tax year. That's in there, so.
Yeah, our rate of-
And that's not a taxable value, that's a market value according to what's in the tax system, so. But, that's in a quick nutshell, as we go into, our business meeting, of course, we'll have the public hearing on the budget. I'll probably give a little bit more information than that. Go over some of the fund dynamics at that time. I don't know if you want me to go over it because they really haven't changed drastically from what we've gone over in the past. But I'll probably go over just a little bit more than that in the meeting that follows, and specifically I'll probably focus on this, where we show our beginning balance, our revenues coming in, our expenditures going out, transfers going out, and then projected ending balance in our funds. That's probably at the level that I will go over a lot of the things that we'll do. And I'll probably talk about the general obligation bond a little bit more, just because that's new in the budget starting for next year. But other than that, I wasn't planning to do a lot more detail than that in the business meeting, unless you want me to.
No, I think we're good with that, right? Yeah. Great. Any other questions for Scott?
No, just supposing to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big vacation in July.
Kids can't live here, but.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing.
Yeah,
That's the tough part.
It's not a bad thing to live where everybody wants to live, but
Because they rent their basements out. That's half their mortgage. That's why they can live here. So I'm sensitive to, increasing the amount of available housing we have here, because it can be done. It's just, maybe look at our ADU policy.
awesome. Okay, thank you. Item E under reports is a Metro Water reimbursement letter of intent discussion. So it looks like instead of Ben, we're gonna have Matt, right?
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay.
Hope so.
If not, somebody else is gonna have to do it.
We chased Ben off.
Yeah, Ben's gone. Never mind. This is a reimbursement agreement with the Metropolitan Water District. As you're aware, they're doing the work on Fort Union. They'll have some work on Danish Road and other like New Tree and different locations throughout the city. As they're doing this work, obviously they're impacting our infrastructure. Where they impact it specifically or directly as part of the project, and where it falls within our standards of you have to replace it with our agreement and our right-of-way permit, they're doing that. That's all being taken care of. But when they do that, some of these locations, we have upgrades in our standards, if you will, like our waterways. Instead of these 2-foot waterways, we have 6 foot now to soften them, still flow the water. They're also on Fort Union. They are doing approximately 3/4 of the width of Fort Union from Wasatch down to New Tree. And we're all aware of what Fort Union looks like and feels like as you drive along there, especially that stretch from 30th to Wasatch. By way of history, we haven't done any work on that because the water district was one coming in, two, the sewer district went in and put in a giant sewer line that took up a lot of the road. And Salt Lake City had plans for another 24-inch water line to go through there. So there's a lot of things happening, and we didn't want to put money into repairing it until all of these things were done. We're at that point now that we feel like a lot of the big stuff's in and it's taken care of. When they finish that, if we don't do our portion of it, then we're going to have a very nice stretch of road, and then you'll know where we didn't work. Okay, so it'll be pretty rough. So what this agreement does, it lays out the agreement. Basically, it states, as the water district will contract with their contractor to do work that we may request, extension or, cleaning up Fort Union. We have a couple of small storm drain pipes that we're asking them to take care of out of the stormwater project. They will use their existing unit prices that they've already bid and gone through that process for to hire this contractor. We'll piggyback on that. And between the department and Metropolitan, will determine what the impact is and what we should pay for versus what we feel like they are on the hook for, if you will. So that's what this agreement is for. It's a reimbursement letter of resolution agreement. Is that what it's called? Cost reimbursement agreement. When those things happen, and with this, we'll be able to push those things forward and take care of that.
Specifically, we're looking at curb and gutter on the east side of the road, or the
There
north side.
is some sections of, we are still trying to decide on curb and gutter on Fort Union where it would be best, because if you'll recall, we also still have a large storm drain project that has to go in there. Based on where we are, we're looking at 5, maybe, well, I should say 8 to 10 years down the road before we get to that. We will probably have them do installation of boxes, put in some curb and gutter. And generally, mostly speaking, this is for the pavement and some broken up curb and gutter along the way, just so we clean it up and we're not having to come back. Now, this only carries us down to about New Tree. We still have between 30th East and New Tree that we will now take a harder look at what we need to do and probably bring that back to you for next year's on the plan to go ahead and mill and overlay that section.
The money that you're talking about in this agreement is budgeted money, funds.
It's budgeted in the capital, the road maintenance money, but it also will carry into next year's fiscal, especially this one. This one, we actually won't be looking at any payments on this until about October, because that's when they plan on milling the whole section of road. Right now, they are patching what they've done and finishing everything. And then they're going to go back through and probably the first part of October and mill the whole thing up and then do the whole project through there. So yeah, it will carry over between two budgets, and a lot of it is going to come out of the stormwater fund, which we have those funds in there for that. And then the other will come out of the road. And like I said, they carry over between two budgets. It's going to be interesting to make it work.
I think I might have misunderstood when you said that we were 5 to 8 years away from, and then you mentioned storm drains. Are you saying that in 5 to 8 years is when you had planned to redo the storm drains in that section that Salt Lake Metro Water is in currently?
We are fiscally and out of necessity, we could probably push it to that point, is what I'm saying.
But you're.
We've designed it already. It's
West
already-
of where we're talking from New
Yeah, so
right?
I'm gonna go west, east. Yeah, so there's a section in there that does go from. It's within the project, but a lot of it is west of New Tree as well. There's a small portion within the project that's happening.
I guess, well, I just would like to understand. So when you say that Salt Lake Metro Water may put in some boxes, are you referring to the?
Stormwater boxes.
Yes.
Inlet.
And so is there any reason why we couldn't try to take the opportunity? I mean, are they gonna put in the storm drain boxes where we were planning to put them in 5
Correct.
to 8 years from now?
Correct.
And so they'll put them in right
Yes.
away.
Yeah, we already have the design for that.
Got
The
it.
reason we're not joining in on this project, we originally were going to, our storm drain project is about $1.7 million, which we just cannot put out right now.
But I guess what I just want to be clear on it is, I understand to the west of Nut Tree, all the way to 3000 East, it's its own animal because Salt Lake Metro is not there. But where Salt Lake Metro has dug everything up, we are going to be able to get the storm drain infrastructure boxes, if you will, on that north side of Fort Union Boulevard, so that we don't have to rip it up in 5 to 8 years from now, is what I'm trying to understand.
There will be, well, we would put them on the curb lines. We weren't gonna put in the large trunk line. That's 8 to 10 years down the road. If we put in the curb, we're asking them to install the boxes as they need to be put in. We have to, this is all, it's kind of a menu. This is laid out as a menu. If we see a possibility and it was gonna save us money down the road, we're gonna have them do it at the end of the day. We would love to put the storm drain line in now because we designed it in conjunction with this project, but we just don't have those funds right now. Just don't have it. So this is a reimbursement agreement.
Yeah.
And mainly it's for the road itself on Fort Union. There's some smaller things along the edges that will get taken care of in this as well.
I read it and I'm comfortable with it because it's just cost. It's whatever their cost is what
Yeah,
we pay.
they're passing their costs on to us.
It is for sure best case scenario financially. Okay, thanks, Matt. I wasn't too hard. Thank you. Okay, item number 4, it's just a review of calendars and upcoming events. Friday, June 6th from 9 to 12. We have our free community shredding at the City Hall, so that's just in a couple of days. Saturday, June 7th, a reminder that the Utah Recycling Alliance event is at Hillside Plaza. So that's from 9 to 12. So hopefully people will take advantage of that. And that's hard to recycle items.
Certain special, items that are hard to get rid of.
And then Wasatch Front Waste Recycling will be there to educate residents on what can and cannot be recycled in their cases. Children are not allowed. I learned that. Didn't know
You can't put your children in the
that. Yeah, I
box.
didn't know.
Wednesday, July 11th, from 6:30 to 8, there is a suicide prevention training at City Hall. So this does require registration via the city website because it's limited to 30 participants. Wednesday, June 18th, from 1:30 to 2:30 is the senior social here at City Hall. What are we doing this time?
Ice
Ice cream social.
and the Q&A with the council.
I am there. You
You
didn't
have
even
to answer questions.
Long No as ice pressure. cream.
make sure we get
Questions are easy.
vanilla with caramel.
Are you making requests?
Yeah.
I'll let Ann know.
Hey, if you don't know the mayor's favorite ice cream, you're just gonna
Got it. I want that crushed toffee that Shane, brings to us every Christmas. I'm gonna just crush that up and we're gonna put on top.
That is the best time.
Deal.
Unfortunately, they're all only open in November and summer, so.
So I've been saving that.
Plan better, Shane.
Sorry. Once again, I fell short.
So Thursday, June 26th at 7 p.m. There's a District 4 Town Hall meeting. Is there a specific topic or is it just open?
It's kind of open,
Okay.
just updating.
But it's at Golden Hill?
It's by water. We're gonna start it out
got
with
it.
coffee, doesn't wanna walk and roll, and then end up at the park by 7.
Okay.
So it appears in the calendar as 7.
Saturday, June 28th and Sunday, June 29th, the Concord Heights Amateur Radio Club is the field day. If you've never been there, you should come here and see what they do. It's pretty dang cool.
It's noon to noon, right?
Yeah, it's usually noon to noon. So in previous years, I would bet that's what it is. Saturday, July 5th, put this on your calendar and just so the council knows, it's a council member plus one and we need to know sooner than later if that's gonna be any variance to that, but it is the July 5th at 6 p.m., the Korean delegation dinner and friendship agreement at City Hall. And that is when we will be officially signing the sister city agreement. There'll be a great dinner. There will be great entertainment. Councilmember Holton has put in unbelievable amounts of work for this. And so I think I'm really excited for this. Thank you. The members of the Korean Federation will be there, the Korean Chambers. There will be a
Bunch of residents.
Korean kids will be there to perform specifically for Korean War veterans.
And we've got a group of Korean War veterans that will be there from the city. The individual doing flowers is from the city. I mean, pretty much people from all over chipping in, which has been fun.
It sounds really amazing.
And then all the colleagues got the agenda for the few days. And so that was shared. And so let me know what you want to participate in. And obviously would love to have you at all of it, but I understand it's also a holiday, so.
Yeah. Thanks, Councilmember Holton. Item H, July 11th, 12th, 14th, 17th through 19th. 17th through the 19th at 7:30 p.m. is the Saturday matinee, and the Saturday matinee at 2 p.m., which is the Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical at Butler Middle School. So our newsletter, I hit 8 when I was typing instead of 9, just in case that I still mad at myself, I missed it. But anyway, this the 19th is when it runs through, not the 18th. And then Thursday, July 24th to the 26th is Butlerville Days. So that'll be something that we really, really look forward to.
So random question. Do we have a schedule when the fireworks are gonna happen or any of that stuff yet?
So I think the drones show is scheduled for Friday night and the fireworks show is scheduled for Saturday.
10 p.m.
They
is what I
both
saw.
start at about 10.
Okay. Gotcha, that makes more sense. There was part of me that, the 24th is Pioneer Day, since it is a holiday, but it is nice to do it at the end, so.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of 24th
Other-
fireworks around the city, around the county. And then the very best fireworks show will be Saturday, July 26th.
Amen to
Right here in
that.
Conway. Hi, Riley. You're looking forward to it, I
I'm
know.
still waiting for when the council gets to push the button to start the show, but, or light the fuse.
Yeah.
Really rock, paper, scissors for that.
Yeah, I know,
Draw the short straw.
yeah.
So we do not have anything to discuss in a closed meeting during this work session. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn our work session. And then enter into our CDRA at 6:45.
And that'll be in chambers,
That will be
here at the work table. Okay.
I'd like to motion that we adjourn and move into our CDRA meeting at 6:45.
I'll second.